And with that, I would like to talk, because it's the beginning of Lent and now is the time to talk about that. I would like to talk about Lenten resolutions. And I'm going to fulfill my promise about why they're better than doing New Year's resolutions.
But first off, how many of you are still doing your New Year's resolutions?
Exactly. And how many of you gave up on them January 7th?
Hey, props to them. It wasn't January 6th.
Or January 2nd.
Yeah.
But this is going to start sounding, it's going to start off sounding maybe just a little bit silly to some people. But I think it's rather apropos. A lot of times in business leadership sorts of training, which, you know, the kind of things, if anybody knows me, knows that I cannot stand personally. There's one good thing that I have drawn out of those that I attended, and that was the concept of SMART goals. SMART being an acronym.
I thought you were going to say synergy.
And pretend you didn't say that. SMART goals. SMART being an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Now, this is advice that is done when setting goals for oneself in general. Like, one goal has to fulfill all 5 of these. Like, oh, I am going to have this book written in this amount of time and published in this amount of time. It's going to be this long. It's going to have this many chapters, or it's going to be however the story, whatever it is. But it has to be all 5 of those things, otherwise there's at least 4 of them, and 3 at the absolute least. So if it isn't at least 3 of those things, then it's a goal that's not worth pursuing. I think we can apply these to our Lenten resolutions. And I think in applying this logic, we can see why a lot of New Year's resolutions fail. So first off, let's look at the S. Specific. How many New Year's resolutions are specific? Or how specific do they even get? You hear people go, oh, I'm going to go to the gym once a week. Or, oh, I'm going to go to the gym every day. You're going to go to the gym and do what? One of the reasons that people give up on the New Year's resolutions is because they weren't specific enough, so when you try to pursue it, you have no idea what you're doing. And it can be that way with Lenten resolutions, too. But I think Lenten resolutions by nature are specific. You know, it's like, I'm not going to watch television. Boom. No television during Lent, it means what it means. Well, does that include YouTube? Yes, it includes YouTube. Can it be interpreted as television? Yes. Is it entertainment happening on a screen in front of you? Yes. It is specific. It is a specific thing that you are cutting out, that you are sacrificing and giving up. And then for something that you're adding in, I'm going to pray a rosary every day. That's pretty specific. You know, because we've all heard the people give the New Year's resolutions of, oh, I'm going to go to the gym more. I'm going to read 5 books and blah, 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 blah. Or I'm going to try to be like this, or I'm going to stop being this way. It's never specific enough. It's not my only indictment of New Year's resolutions. More are coming. And more reasons why you shouldn't really do New Year's resolutions, and instead you should just do Lenten resolutions. Or if you're not a Christian, something akin to it. This ostensibly is why the Muslims have Ramadan, but that's a conversation for another time. So the M stands for measurable. This one can be just a little bit tricky, but the improvement that is being made, you have to be able to gauge it. You have to know that you actually have improved, and you have to have a goal for how much you are planning on improving.
If I interpret that correctly, there's something lacking to a goal that isn't measurable enough because you can't measure the effect. Like, you can measure the goal itself, kind of in the sense of how we meant specific, but you can also measure the output. And even if it's not quantified with a number, you know, right, you should be able at the end of it to point to something concrete that you've done, and grown it. You know, so like if I gave up Facebook for Lent, you know, as I once did, then I think there's something measurable at the end of that, which is, yeah, I don't care about Facebook anymore. It did its job. It took that thing that was just a doom scroll in my life, and it purged it.
Or you may find yourself going, oh, I'm less anxious. I have more time on my hands. I actually am just measurably a better person now. in a notable way because I gave up this thing and I devoted that time to better things. So, like, that's... My mind is drawing a blank. I need to not drink sake on the podcast again because it makes me sleepy.
No.
But this is another thing that is part of the nature of Lenten resolutions, at least most of those that I have heard from my friends, those that they have done, is that they are measurable things. The sacrifice itself you can measure. Because specific and measurable kind of go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm just going to go to the gym more, well, how often? You've never been to the gym in your life. If you go once this year, congratulations, you have technically fulfilled that.
Mm-hmm.
Because your goal was not specific and you didn't measure it.
Yeah, and while that's something, is there a lasting impact to that? Well, that depends on if you keep going or not. What your habits turn into.
And it depends on whether or not a barbell falls on your foot.
Okay.
Breaking a foot is a lasting impact.
I guess there's that, yeah.
Injuries are lasting impact.
It is measurable, after a fashion.
That is also true.
It was one
but
foot.
That's not the kind of measurable we're talking about.
No.
That's measurable. The A in SMART stands for attainable. So it has to actually be something reasonable. And this is one that a lot of people struggle with during their Lenten resolutions too, because there are very often people are a little overzealous in what they're going to try to give up. Like, I remember hearing about people who were like, oh, I'm going to go the entire Lent without ever eating meat, without drinking any alcohol, without ever smoking, without doing anything enjoyable at all.
Good
no
luck.
Physical pleasure for me for the entire 40 days of Lent. And I severely moderate what I allow myself on Sundays. Good luck, even attempting that. If you can do it, more power to you. Most people can't, and that's okay if you can't. I work at the tax office. I'm not a 7th century monk. I'm not supposed to act like a 7th century monk. You know what I'm supposed to act like? A husband and father of 3 who works at the tax office.
Yeah. Sounds like you're trying to do your job.
So
Which you are.
whatever sacrifice I make, it has to be something that I can sit down and go, all right, this is definitely something that we can do and that we are capable of. And that does include breaking addictions, because Lent is a perfect time for that too. Because as much as that little voice in your head is going to tell you that being addicted to something gives you license, because an addiction is a mental disorder, that doesn't give you license to say, oh, well, I'm addicted, I'm not capable of giving it up because of my brain being wired this way, so I'm not even going to try. No, you have to do that. You have to try. And I think if you have a genuine addiction, you are kind of obligated to make that your Lenten resolution.
That would work.
Because if you have a genuine addiction, that's kind of the biggest problem in your life.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it would work is understating
first.
it. Yeah.
You should be trying to get rid of that first. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's a big thing, if it's a little thing. If it's an addiction, what being addicted to something does to your brain in general is unbelievably bad. So anyway.
It's a perfect segue into the R in SMART.
Relevant. I have a few more things to say about attainable.
Oh, sorry.
We've also all heard the guys who at New Year's are like, yeah, I'm going to have abs by Christmas. I mean, for one thing, Christmas time is cold. You're going to be wearing a shirt. Nobody's going to see your abs. And you should be wearing a shirt anyway, so it doesn't matter.
It's okay to not when you're snowblowing. Apart from that, please put a shirt on.
But also, or they go like, man, I'm going to get jacked this year. Is that actually attainable to do in a year's worth of time?
Mm-hmm.
You can get into pretty good shape over the course of a few months, but what most people define as jacked, you want to look like Dwayne Johnson? That's not going to happen in a year. And you're fooling yourself. Ask a reputable exercise scientist and physical trainer. Like, anybody that's offering you a fast solution for your health is lying to you. Or stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope stupid, because that's better for the soul, to be stupid. But even with a Lenten resolution, again, like I said, sometimes people get a little bit overzealous. I remember 2 years in a row, I gave up meat for the entirety of Lent.
Oh.
And Fridays, when we would ordinarily be giving up anyway, I decided bread and water. I did pretty good avoiding meat, but the bread and water thing, yeah, that kind of fell apart. It basically turned into me defining bread as anything that involves mixing flour and water.
So all the crackers.
So it was like bagels and pasta and mostly plain pasta. I remember a friend of ours called me out on it once. She's like, "I thought you were doing bread and water on Fridays during Lent." I was like, "Pasta's technically bread. It's flour and water. Leave me alone." But so that's an example of me not having an attainable goal. Because at that point I was like, all right, I have to have something a little bit more nourishing than just a slice of white bread in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other reasons why just a straight bread and water fast is not as feasible today unless you bake your own bread. Because modern bread is way less healthy than medieval bread was. Or ancient bread at times when bread and water fasts were very, very common. Really, it was just depriving your palate of the taste of other food. But bread was still plenty nutritious by itself. Well, not plenty nutritious. There's hardly any protein in bread. But, bread with a little bit of cheese and you're fine.
Mm-hmm. It'll get you through the day.
Maybe an apple. You're fine. It'll get you through the day. You can't really do that nowadays because of how bread is made now, and that too is another conversation for another time.
Yes.
And not relevant to this current conversation totally. Which brings me to the R, which we're actually going to talk about now. It's that it has to be relevant. Like, is your resolution something that's actually going to be good, or is actually going to improve you as a person? Like we talked about I'm going to read 5 books. Well, ignoring the fact that, again, you're not being specific. What are the 5 books? Are you talking about 500-page pamphlets, or are you talking about the 5 books currently out of the Stormlight Archive? There's a big difference there.
Yeah.
So, not going against how that violates the rule of being specific, how relevant is it that you read those 5 books? Or even if you do pick the books, how relevant are those books to actually improving you as a person? How will you be better as a person after reading them than you were before? One of the purposes of Lent is to break bad habits, so you can be better prepared for the highest feast of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime a bad habit is broken and replaced with a good habit, because it's not enough just to break the bad habit, you have to replace it with a good one. That can only be an improvement. But when you read your 5 books, okay, is it 5 books of philosophy? 5 books of, good philosophy, I should clarify. Or is it 5 books of smut?
Yeah.
Again, is it things that are actually going to better you as a person? And things that are relevant specifically to your life and your station. Like, what is most appropriate for you? What is most appropriate for me, the husband and father of 3 who works in the tax department? How should I be behaving? And how should I fix my behavior? How should I fix myself in my life? To where I can be the best version of a husband and father of 3 who works in the tax department. What do I need to cut out, and what do I need to add in? And you do that one thing at a time. 1 year at a time, every Lent. Because our goal for a Lenten resolution is to not have to do the same resolution next year. And the last letter is the T, which is timely. And oh, by the way, one last word about relevant. Your resolution should bring you closer to God. It isn't necessarily just good enough for you to improve as a person in a purely secular sense. It should also bring you closer to God. Which any growth in virtue does bring you closer to God.
Mm-hmm.
But it should also be more obvious than that. Anyway, I thought I'd throw that in there.
I mean, if it doesn't, yeah.
Yeah. The T of SMART stands for timely. And here's the big difference between New Year's resolutions and Lenten resolutions, and why I like Lenten resolutions better, and why I think it's actually much easier and simpler to keep a Lenten resolution than it is to keep a New Year's resolution. Because when you're actively trying to keep a New Year's resolution, you realize exactly how long the year is. The end of the year is a long way off. It's 365 days. Lent is only 40. So right at the start of Lent, you can see the finish line. That actually is a sprint. Trying to do a really intense New Year's resolution is like running a marathon with no training.
It's one way to put it.
Lent is a sprint. And everybody can sprint. Unless you're a paraplegic or something. Even then, your wheelchair probably can go pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
So Lent is effectively a 40-yard dash. Every yard, every step, every day is an improvement. Every day of Lent takes you one step closer to Easter, when it is time to celebrate. And the sacrifices that you have made will make the celebration that much better along the way. That's part of the reason I think that New Year's resolutions fizzle out, is because there really isn't that much of an end goal. It's just, at some point in these 365 days, I will have gone to the gym, or I will have read more books, or I will have done this, or I will have done that. Which means you're never going to do them. Because that gives you 365 opportunities to say, I'll just do it tomorrow.
Well said.
365 days of excuses. Lent, you only have 40. If I have 2 jars and one of them's got 365 beads in it, and the other one has 40, which one are you more likely just to dump a bunch of beads out of? Or look at it this way, if you've got $365, or you just have 40, at what point are you more likely just to spend $1 on something? And maybe on something that you don't even need.
Like the analogy that hit my head was, which type of football game would you most enjoy playing? The one that lasts for 60 minutes or the one that has no end? Probably the one that lasts 60 minutes. Probably the one that has a clear, by this time I need to have measured my score against yours. And I win. Or I lose. And we're going to try it again.
And that really is why having a Lenten practice is better. Because there's a more clearly defined end to it.
Mm-hmm.
For this period of time, I will give it up. I will give these things up, and I will have this practice. And I will still have the option, and nobody will judge me, to just revert to my life as it was before Lent after Easter. Well, I may judge you, but that's only because I judge myself for doing the same thing for 3 years in a row. And I know it, and Dominic knows it, and everybody knows it. Everybody that has ever practiced Lent has done that at least once. Even if you made a faithful Lenten sacrifice, you just went right back to it at the end of after Easter.
Well, and in theory, there's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, I've given up alcohol for Lent before. It's a good and worthy sacrifice. It meets all of the criteria of a smart Lenten resolution.
Right, but I'm talking about the when things become excess or when they become bad habits.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody remembers at least one Lent where you gave something up and you even did a really good job with it, and then it took maybe a week after Lent for you just to fall right back into that habit.
Yeah, if you're giving up vices, if you're giving up addictions for Lent, don't be going back to them.
Yeah.
Don't be doing that.
So for you, Lent actually does become a New Year's resolution that you do have to carry out for the rest of the year and for the rest of your life. Because it is an everyday battle. It isn't just for the 40 days of Lent.
Mm-hmm.
But having that 40 days of austerity and hammering down hard on it can help significantly. They say it takes at least 2 weeks to form a habit. 4 if you want it really solidified. Lent is what, 7?
6. But yeah.
6 weeks.
We're going to be extra sure that we got this nailed down.
So if you're trying to form habits, Lent is the time to do it. And I've heard stories, a lot of people have converted. A lot of people have become Christians, and a lot of people have become Catholic after a Lenten practice.
Which is fitting. Funny how that works, and yet it's perfectly natural.
I've heard converts who said, hey, I just want to let me try Lent. And then somehow, doing Lent the Catholic way led them to becoming Catholic. It may not have been a right-away thing, but I've heard that story at least twice.
It's beautiful. I mean, what it strikes in me is just, get out of your own way and let the Lord in. Start removing some of the obstacles. Give him an inch and he won't take a mile. He'll take an infinitely greater amount than that. And, you're along for the ride now.